everyone. Welcome to hello. Welcome to 3S Art Space. We're so thrilled to present this evening's performance. For those of you new to 3S Art Space, it's the newest nonprofit live arts venue here in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We have a performance space, an art gallery, and locally sourced restaurant right here in this building, as well as the bar in here. And having just opened our doors this past March, our mission is to present bold, emerging art and entertainment similar to the performance you're going to see tonight. If you like what you see and you're not already a member of 3S, there are lots of great benefits to doing so. And you can find out more and sign up right out at the box office. And thank you to our sponsors, The Sound, an independent free weekly newspaper that covers news, arts, culture, and events here on the Seacoast. And also Hague and Martino, one of the state's finest creative agencies. We have some great shows coming up. In fact, our October calendar just arrived from the printer yesterday. Please do grab one from the box office counter on your way out. Also, you can find out more information on upcoming events at our website, 3sarts.org. A few words about tonight's show. We had the privilege of hosting local choreographer and dancer Wendy Quinn's most recent work, a piece that combines a historic and deeply personal narrative with some state-of-the-art technology. Last, some housekeeping. Please silence your cell phones, and at the artist's request, please no photographs. Thanks very much, and now without further ado, Wendy Quinn, Life After Life.
Виновен ли мещанин города Чаус, Могилевской губернии Зальман Исхак Яхмин, 19 лет, в том, что, участвуя в преступном сообществе социалистов-революционеров, составившихся для насильственного посягательства путем вооруженного восстания на изменение в России законами основных установленного образа правления и имеющих в своем распоряжении значительное количество боевых патронов и похищенных в ночь на 13 декабря 1905 года из Слободского военного цеха на 313 пунктов. Он, предприняв в средних числах декабря сообщество вооруженного восстания, вступил в организованную силу воспитанную боевую дружину и 18 декабря 1905 года в городе Вятка открыто выступил в ней, по обстоятельствам от него независящим, не приступил к выполнению намеченного плана. Виновен ли тот же подсудимый Яхнин в том, что 18 декабря 1905 года в городе Вятка, участвуя в сборище вооруженных огнестрельным оружием членов высшего преступного сообщества, собравшихся в квартире одного из них, он, будучи сам вооружен, заряженную винтовку, выступил вместе с другими лицами на вылазку своих товарищей, осажденным войсками в помещении городской водокачки. Причем застигнутый на пути войском, зашел с остальными дружинниками в дом Якова Гиркина, где осажденная чинами полиции и войсками дружина, действуя за подчиненными силами участников, оказала названным чинам требование сдачи оружия, вооруженное сопротивление, открыв по ним ружейный огонь, в который рядовой Шубин был ранен, рядовой Антышев контужен, рядовой Плетнев и Чулкин убиты наповал. На эти вопросы особое присутствие по обсуждении всех обстоятельств ответил: виновен. На 7-й виновен не в качестве члена сообщества, а на 4-й и 6-й вопросы последовали ответы отрицательные.
Don't go away. We have a, thank you all, first of all, for coming. And we have a little panel discussion planned for after the performance with some scientists and artists, local artists, Lucy Terrien, Joseph Semple. I was going to say Joseph Campbell. I don't think so. And so please stay, and because we're a small audience, we'd love to hear some of your questions or thoughts as well. Thank you. Joe, and I don't know. Bonsoir Lucie. Comment ça va? Ah bon? Il n'y a pas d'escalier? Oh non, ils ont pris l'escalier. Il y a un escalier là-bas? Oh, pardon. Ici? Bienvenue. Okay, so here we are again. We've invited, last night we had 2 scientists, tonight we have Joe, to talk about how it felt for them to see data that Marty takes in his music and turns it into the scientific data and turns it into music. So did you take any of... Okay, so my question to Joe, thank you, I'm a little... Yeah. I know. So my question to you, Joe, is, do you have some data that Marty has sonified? But do you know the Hubbard-Brook stuff? Okay. So my question is, what is it like for you to see scientific data embedded in a piece like this, which is about, the Hubbard-Brook data is about trees and the New Hampshire forests. But now we're taking it to another place, which is family trees, my family. And so what is it like for you to see data embedded in a piece like this?
Great. And what a wonderful performance. Thank you. It was just fantastic. It's really wonderful. I encountered Marty's data put into music already, and it's just fascinating. Every time I hear it, and every time I see Marty, and he'll show me the next thing he's done, I'm just like, wow, we go off in a million different directions, and in 2 minutes just thinking about new ways that we can, I'll say hear, but the way we can see data, but I mean this consciously, right? I mean, when you hear it, it's different. It's telling me something in a way that I never thought about it before, and it's explosive for me because I'll start. My interest started in forests with insects, and so I look very small, and then out of necessity in job security, I started looking very big, and then the ecosystem just sort of this explosion up. Looking at systems and global systems, and then Marty comes along with this new way of seeing how these systems are interacting, and then suddenly we see it performed, which is a whole. I had a whole mix of emotions when I'm watching the whole thing, and I of course did my background. I'm like, I know this is about forest, but there were some times and I'll bring this back around, when I felt like I needed to protect the character that I was watching up here, and the music was at first it was like, oh, that's great, and then some of the music that came out afterwards was sort of making me feel a little like I need to get up and do something about this now, before, you know what I mean? So it was really an interesting flow of emotions that came through, beyond just thinking about the ecology and forest and things like that. And then I began to see it grow. And then I began to think about, towards the end of the performance, I began to think about being a tree, a single tree, and watching how everything changed around me, thinking as a sapling, and then I grow, and then I grow, and I watch trees come and go, and I watch whole systems and forest societies change over time. And you can imagine just laying there and looking up at, you know, if you lay under a tree, my wife has done this exercise before, looking at the tree, and we have students all doing this as well, which is kind of a fun little trick. And we're watching the tree. Now I want you to look at the tree and imagine you're the tree and think about it changing. It's been here for 200 years, you know, it's been here a long time, and then everything, the forest changed, everything changed. And then at the end of it, I was thinking about where is it going? What's it going to look like as we move forward? And I'm looking at an insect you're probably familiar with, the hemlock woolly adelgid. Some of you might have heard of this, which is infesting hemlock along the East Coast, and it's devastating the hemlock. And what's coming in are rhododendron and other types of trees. And so I'm looking at, and with climate change, we think about how forests will, how they'll look 50, 100 years from now. And our job is to protect the system, to make sure the system stays, but it'll be different than what it was before. And the character is certainly different now. The character became something new with two belief systems coming together, you know? And I could see this evolution of a system, evolution of a culture, evolution of a forest. So it was really interesting, yeah. So, yeah.
And Joe, where are you? University of Southern Maine? And you are a forest ecologist?
That's a great question. I play in everybody's sandbox. Yeah. So yeah, I teach forest ecology. But I work a lot with insects and how insects are interacting with the forest. And I teach in the Department of Environmental Science up there at the University of Southern Maine. So, but there's nothing that, I mean, everything is really interesting to me. So I'm really open to this sort of stuff. And I can see, you know, give us some time to sit here and we'll be brainstorming new ways to think about this. So it's everything is sort of open, so yeah.
I wanted to tell a story about you, Marty. Okay. So that's okay. When we were working on the piece, and I was realizing, wow, trees breathe. We have to have music about the trees breathing. I mean, families breathe, we breathe, trees breathe. We have to do. And so let's pull out from the Hubbard Brook music just the strand about evapotranspiration. And so we did that, and then Marty says, something's wrong with the data, it doesn't sound right. And so he calls Lindsay. Now, keep in mind, scientists are looking at graphs and bars and numbers, and he calls Lindsay and he says, Lindsay, there's something wrong with the data, it doesn't sound right.
And it was just, the data wasn't being processed correctly, and it was too low because the trees should have been breathing more in the summer, and we should have heard more marimbas coming up during the daytime and then back down at night, and they weren't there. So we realized there was an error both in my code and also in the data processing code at the University of New Hampshire. So it was this interesting interaction between the arts, trying to use the data in the artistic form, and then all of a sudden we're able to serve the science by finding an error in the, in the data processing. So that was interesting. So I met Joe a year ago, about a year ago, when I was invited to a conference up at Hubbard Brook Forest on universal design. And so Joe's been involved in that as well, allowing people of every disability to get into, or every ability, you know, different abilities of people, to get into the science and to go out into the forest, even though they might not be able to walk the same way, you know, whatever the difficulties, walking or seeing or hearing. So, and I'm going to be speaking up at University of Southern Maine, it looks like on November 12th. So.
Now to Lucy. I called Lucy a few weeks ago and said, Lucy, you have to come to my piece, please, please come. And I said, we're doing a whole thing about Quebec. You know, you have to see it. I want you to see it. And we're using À la Clairefontaine, the song. And she says, oh my God, you're raising the flag, you know. So I thought we have to invite Lucy to talk a little bit about the song.
Well, first of all, félicitations. I was very impressed with your facial expressions and the different moods that you brought. I'm going to speak from an artistic point of view. The different moods that she portrayed just in her face, and along with the movement, of course. And I can see how you would have worked with Pontine, with the whole fabric thing and everything. I think your set design is very, very impressive. And as well as, I mean, all the detail, how the dress fits the background, and it's wonderful. And the music, well, I'm a very multicultural person. In fact, I speak about the different transitions that the French-Canadian music has made through the Humanities Council. To go through all these stages of your life along with the music was very impressive. À la Clairefontaine is a song that came over to Quebec from France in the 1600s. It's thought that there's probably over 500 versions of it now, because people transformed it depending on whether they could reach the notes, or to show off some artifice, or to they changed the text to fit their own whims. And the text was always the most important part to all French music anyway. The melody was secondary. So the text was changed many, many times. And it still exists. Actually, the keepers of it now are really the Franco-Americans here in New England, because French folk music, yes, arrived from France mostly into Quebec, but the music has evolved in Quebec since then. I want to come back to your Montreal roots so I could see them all tonight. The music has evolved so much since then that that French folk music really isn't brought out much anymore, unless it's just to teach the children, yeah, or to teach the background and the history. So the French in France only bring it out to study in music history. The French in Quebec bring it out mostly just as a recall, but the Franco-Americans have hung on to it and kept it, because they came here in the 1850s to work in the mills, and this is a demonstration of their culture. And so when they're at home celebrating, which they've hung on to their culture very nicely, and they cook their traditional meals, and they sing these traditional songs. So it's very present here, but not so present anymore in Quebec, and definitely in the past in France. But I wanted to say that, you know, I'm from Montreal, and so is Wendy, that performance is very avant-garde in Montreal, and this is very avant-garde. And I've seen, thank you, I've seen Marty's demonstration of science demonstrated in sound before, when you did a presentation on the sound of DNA. That was, I said, okay, only Marty could do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so now that we've had a little history lesson, does anybody in the audience have any questions or thoughts that they might like to share? It's hard to see you guys out there, but are there any thoughts, questions, experiences? I cannot see.
this forest. How do you go about doing that?
The question is, how do we obtain the sounds from the forest? And the sounds are originally from data that's recorded from a multitude of sensors that are placed in the forest to record, carbon dioxide and temperature and the amount of water in the soil and the stream flow and how fast it is. They've built these special things called weirs up in the middle of New Hampshire, in the middle of this forest, that can record the stream flow through a particular area. And there's 7 areas in this one forest. And so I take those numbers and I turn the numbers into expressions of music. And those expressions can be, in this case, they were basically just, I turn the numbers into pitches in a scale, played by a particular instrument per sensor. So the streams are the low bass sounds, and the temperature is the flute, and the soil and water, the water and soil levels is the guitar pitches, and the precipitation are cymbal sounds that you hear shh when it rains. And so in this case, we're really just using pitch for the Hubbard Brook data, the beginning music data, and the evapotranspiration, marimbas every day. So those are the marimbas breathing, the trees breathing in the sound of marimbas coming and going. And I made it in 4 seconds, where every day goes by in 4 seconds, because that's kind of like how we breathe. Every about 4 seconds it takes us to take a breath in and out. And I wanted it to be related to us as humans, to experience the forest in that way.
Hopefully there's another 1 or 2 questions or thoughts, anything anybody would like to share. It's very quiet out there.
Still processing.
Okay.
I can share.
No, I just wanted to say I was so annoyed I was behind the camera because I really just wanted to watch you. I just really wanted to watch you, but I had to make sure you were in the frame. So every time I tried to watch you, then it was like, oh no, she's still in the frame. So anyway, I wish I could have just watched you. It was lovely.
Thank you so much.
We're filming it with 3 cameras, shoots by Steve Giroux, and and Roberta, his wife. So we have a husband and wife team, very technical team here tonight, also with us. And I just wanted to say, we've been working. I'm very proud of Wendy for following this dream that she had a year ago, where she saw these boxes or a post, billowing cloth.
I saw a billow, it was a dream, and it was just a fragment of a cloth billowing above my head, and it was attached to posts. And the thing about the dream that I forgot to mention last night was it was ecstatic. It was so happy. And that's what made me think, I think I'm supposed to do something with this.
So I'm so proud of her for following that dream. And we've had a great time working together as a couple, creatively, coming up with ideas to help this show come into being. And so we feel like we're on a new sort of groove together in our creative life together. So I'm really happy to see it come to this.
We'd also like to thank everybody that participated in some fashion or another to help us produce this piece. My daughter, Katie, was very instrumental in the beginning, and many of the pieces, parts of the piece, came from our working together early on. So I do want to acknowledge her input. Thanks. And of course, thank you to 3S, to Anna Prather, to Nick, and to Martin Holbrook. Thank you. Everyone else. Thank you so much. can go home now.